this started because
Here we go.
it's gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough, man.
I ain't
It's
your
gonna
pal, dick face. All right.
break my record like I break a friend.
Too handsome for you, huh, sweetheart?
I don't know. For this episode, guys, it's gonna time to protect your nuts, guys.
All right, here we go, fellas. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the nightcap. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back.
Special edition, special double dragon, double feature. We're doing it again.
No, this time it's not double dragon. We got Rich here. It's the Van Damme cap. All right,
it's the Van Damme cap. Yeah, exactly. That's a great way of putting it. Bloodsport versus Kickboxer. We even changed up the grading and everything. I'll probably have to put the grading in the notes. Put the revised grading in here because this is a Van Damme edition, right? It's like a roundhouse kick to the face of podcasts. Right?
Special grading.
Yeah, we're gonna put to rest one of the greatest debates of all time, which is the best Van Damme movie. So
exactly.
we're gonna do that right now. And
a lot of waxing nostalgic on this one because I don't know about you. This is my childhood right here, guys.
This is my childhood. This is gonna be tough, guys. I don't know. Bloodsport, Kickboxer. This is my childhood. It's gonna be tough for me to choose here, guys. I don't know why you put me up to this. I'm gonna hate this. You
gotta choose between your kids. Which one's your favorite? Right?
I'm flipping back and forth, but we'll see what happens.
Score and choose for me because they're fucking both great childhood movies.
Rich, what are you sipping on tonight? What do you got there? That's all can.
Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA.
Oh,
that's crazy. Oh, that's
fancy.
It's not what I thought.
Graphic novel and an IPA combined. Kind of baby.
But the Voodoo Ranger is a skull. Get it? Voodoo.
We got it, Rich. We got it. We got it.
What do you got drinking tonight? Anything?
I'm actually drinking. I'm drinking White Claw again because I'm trying to get rid of the 12-pack that I just bought. So there you go.
I'm not.
So you haven't been living by the no rules.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on to Steve. What do you got?
A little margarita. Going back to Old Faithful. All right.
Okay. There you go. Kirkland brand margarita.
That's the only kind of margarita I drink.
As far as I'm concerned,
it is Mexican, right?
All right. Well, let's jump into it, man. Which one we're doing first? Which one first?
We're gonna start with the earlier of the two movies, Bloodsport. So
okay.
Let's go ahead and give a little synopsis, and then we'll get into it. Let's see here. So Bloodsport is a 1988 American martial arts action film directed by Newt Arnold, whom I'm not familiar with. It stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Donald Gibb, Leia Ayres, and Bolo Young. The film is partly based on the unverified claims of martial artist Frank Dukes. It sold well in the box office, grossing over $50 million. The budget itself was only about $1.5 million. And it's considered a cult classic. But then again, I'm preaching to the choir right now. So, I don't remember when the first time I saw this movie. I mean, obviously I was a kid. But I know that I've seen it multiple times, and I feel sorry for my parents because they had the Kumite more than once. But how about you guys?
Oh, man. I don't know how many times I watched. I love this movie. It's, like I said, it's part of my childhood. So,
for real.
And the story is so simplistic, too. Kumite, gotta honor his Shidoshi. Flat out simple. Yeah, flat out simple. Story, 8 out of 10. All right, how you like that? Even though it was simple, I like it.
What'd you give it, Rich?
Me? I gave it a 6, but it's just one of those great freaking movies, like you said, as a kid. I can't tell you how many times I've watched it because it's probably too many times. But fucking great movie. Nostalgia, fucking loved it. I mean, watching this movie was more getting a refresher of the movie. I have seen it so many freaking times.
And it's interesting to watch it through like adult eyes, right? Because you have these memories of it as a kid, and then you watch it again, and I mean, it's really an icon of like that time frame too, right? And you had all these movies, these juggernauts, the Arnold, Stallone, and then you have obviously Van Damme, and he's his own genre, right, in itself.
Oh,
with these like kind of over the top, ham-fisted martial arts movies. But back in the day, in the 80s, I mean, if you knew martial arts, you were basically an Avenger, right? And it was like this mysticism surrounding martial arts. Like, man, if you just got your black belt, you basically could do whatever you wanted, right? And that's kind of what the plot of this movie starts off with. You see a young Frank, right? And he gets brought up by Tanaka, and trained by him, right? And this Japanese family and stuff. And it's very interesting. But one thing I had here in my notes is it just me, or does young Frank look a little bit like Screech from Saved by the Bell?
All I know,
I did not think of that, dude.
I just know that young Frank was a Giants fan of all sports because he had on a New York Giants shirt, but a San Francisco Giants hat. And I was just like, okay, well, there you go.
That's his favorite team.
I couldn't get past that kid's acting, dude.
I wasn't going to steal it.
His acting was top notch. That's for sure.
Teach me.
But what do you think about Tanaka's son with the little racist dimes he's dropping in there, calling Frank a round eye? I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, he's like, just quit, round eye.
This movie could not be made today. They'd be,
No.
oh man.
If that kid's still around, we should cancel him. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, cancel culture on that kid. It's funny you mentioned that kid. He was kicking young Frank Duke's ass, right? But then Frank Dukes had to save him from getting bullied by like 2 kids.
That's true. It doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't make sense. I don't know, whatever. But
yeah. Well, I mean, kind of transition for the. Let's get into the training. I mean, in this movie, compared to the 2 movies, it really didn't have that standard training. The whole training portion of him, by the time Frank gets to the Kumite, he's a finished product, right? Whereas like in Kickboxer, you see this whole arc. But you see this kind of like flashback, and you see a young Frank being trained by Tanaka. You know, and I think Roy Child's character as Tanaka, I thought was pretty cool. Very Japanese, very stoic, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, you can see they don't really give you the details of why he or how he lost his son, but then you see, you know, Frank saying, you know, kind of pleading with him, like, train me, right? And I'll represent you. And then they go through this whole like little training montage there, which is kind of typical. There's nothing too crazy, but kind of really Tanaka kind of just treats Frank like crap. He's hitting them with bamboo bowls, you know what I mean? While he's blindfolded, he's making him serve him dinner, right? He's like doing that weird torture, the torture contraption that makes you do the splits. Like, I'm like, what is this?
You know what? I always thought that was his other son. Did he die in the Kumite? As a kid, I thought like he died in the Kumite, and I thought like Frank wanted to go into the Kumite to avenge him and like honor his Shidoshi also.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because as a kid, I thought that was the case.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Watching it back as an adult, I'm like, well,
they don't say that,
right?
Yeah, like, they didn't say that. No,
they don't say.
Was it a car accident? Like,
no, they didn't say it at all. Like, as a kid, I always just assumed that he died in the Kumite. That's why he wants to go to the Kumite to honor, like, the Shidoshi. So that's just my
exactly.
thing.
To live on
in this training montage, it wasn't even a training montage. It was just a long-ass flashback. It was just a long-ass flashback. That was it. So that was the training montage is the lowest score I gave it for this movie. I'm sorry.
What'd you give it, Rich?
Overall, I gave it a 13. It was, like you said, it was a giant flashback. And I mean, yes, it was cool. You got to kind of see the samurai sensei type of mentality with him, besides turning him into a little servant. But
you are not Tanaka.
It was a training montage. It was just done in a flashback setting that was way too fucking long. You know what I thought was awkward? When he's doing the splits and he breaks it and the samurai's like, oh. And he's like, oh, yeah. And the samurai's like, oh. And he's like,
oh, okay.
I didn't think
he had that facial expression,
so fucking weird, man.
I don't remember that, but
go back and look at it, dude.
Watch it again, but I don't think he did that.
Yeah, I don't remember that quite being that way, but it was a little strange. But
fucking weird. Go back and look at it.
I'll say this: I did bump up the points of the training montage just because in the movie Bloodsport itself, you get to see a lot of other montages of the other fighters. So you get to see the guys from like Brazil and like, you know, all over like, you know, Asia and Europe or whatever fighting and training. So where it kind of locks in that area with Frank, you get to see them. And even the guys like, you know, all the way up into the Kumite, right? Training and stuff. You get to see a lot of other fight scenes and stuff. And there's a few other montages like in the movie too. And so maybe where it lacked in the training, I think it kind of picked up there. There's a little bit more fight scenes compared to Kickboxing.
I'll give you that, but I was just basing it on Van Damme's training. Like, and that's why I only gave it, I only gave it an 11 out of 15, just because it wasn't really a training montage. If we're grading just straight training montage, it wasn't a training montage. It was a flashback. So,
yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want to go off too much on a tangent, but before we hop into the bad guy, let's just talk a little bit more about the movie, just a little bit. some of these other characters, right? So you got Frank's character. He's like this captain from like the army, I guess, and he escapes over, right? And then you have the two, like, I don't even know what they're federal agents. I don't know what this.
I don't know.
They go to get him back. You had
young
very young Forrest Whitaker, right? That was kind of like interesting. I don't know. It was kind of, but really too, his buddy, right, that he meets over here, Ray Jackson. What did you guys think of his character?
So good. So good.
Like Jackson.
You Jackson? You look like a Jackson.
Exactly. Oh, dude. And he always and you know what? They talk about racist again. That is a typical with how the world views Americans. Like this brash, crazy
obnoxious
wearing a bandana. Have you ever been with a big guy? You've never been with a big guy.
But Ray Jackson was such an integral part of this story just because he, one, provided comic relief, and two, provided Frank Duke with motivation to, segue to the bad guy, Chong Li. So there you go.
You know what? How did he get invited to the Kumite? He didn't do karate. He didn't do any.
He was boxer. He was a boxer.
But he picked people up and threw them. I didn't see that. Like
he was more of a freaking pro wrestler, if anything.
Yeah, but
he's just like,
look, here's the thing: the Kumite is very mysterious, very secret. Even though everyone seemed to know about it in Hong Kong, even though it was supposed to be a secret tournament, everyone knew about it.
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about Janice's character. I mean, this girl will do anything for a story, and I mean anything.
Anything. Anything.
She proved it.
Yeah. What do you guys have to prove? Right? And she's like harping the whole time. She wants to get in. As soon as she gets in, she's complaining. Then she goes all Karen and tells the freaking feds where Frank Dukes is at the end because she doesn't want to get hurt. I mean, come on, man. Who is this girl?
Come on, man. I don't know.
She wasn't very likable, in my opinion. All right.
Out of the love interest, she was definitely behind Miley, but we won't get into that. We'll get into that next episode.
She's no Miley, right? Miley was a
She's no
sweetheart.
Miley.
All right.
No, Miley's
Miley had character. This chick was just super slut. Get the story.
Ooh, Jesus. All right.
Oh, am I allowed to say that? My bad.
Ooh, all right. Man, well, there you go.
You just slut shame Janice in this movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's hop into the bad guy, right? Chong Li. What do you guys think? Alex, you start. I know you're a big fan.
Chong Li, I mean, I have to be a big fan because one, we're both endomorphs, very stocky, very short, stocky. And also like Chong Li, I too am soft in the gut. So but so he definitely had a lot of charisma.
Holy shit.
Yeah, his presence alone was good. And
next time I see you, right? Punch you in the stomach and just see what happens.
He's soft in the gut.
Weakness, man.
He's soft in the gut, like
Oh, I'm out.
Yep.
But anyway, getting back, he had a lot of swag. He had a lot of charisma. He had like a good presence about him, even though he was like maybe 5'2" or something. He carried himself well. I mean, he almost kills Jackson if he didn't have a rock like a head that's hard as rock. He kills somebody like in the Kumite, and apparently he killed somebody in the last Kumite too.
Mm-hmm.
And he was. I gave him a 27 out of 30 just because he was a badass. Like as a kid, I was just like, I want to grow up to be like fucking Chong Li. Like,
you want to be the bad guy?
Yeah.
I want to kill motherfuckers in a martial arts tournament.
You are next. All right.
You are next. He does that crazy face, right? He does, right, when he stomps on him.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's like the bandana, like, like, oh,
he's
God.
He's a bastard. But I like the word you use, swag, because that's what I had too in my notes. I'm like, he very much has like a gangster swag about him. You know what I mean? With the rolled shoulders, and he just kind of tilts the head back. Even when he sees him break the brick, right? He just kind of brick, no hit back, right?
Brick, don't hit back.
He's a very fine actor. He's a very
totally downplays the dim mock. He's like, oh, I've seen that before. Whatever.
Well, yeah, exactly. He really was. He was not impressed at all.
Even when Jackson calls him out, he's like, "You're next." He's like, "Oh, me? Are you talking to me?" Like,
well, I'll say this: compared to Tom Poe, one thing I did in my notes, I'm like, how good really is Chong Li as a villain? Yeah, he's intimidating, but if you think about it, Ray pretty much beat him, but just lost focus, right? I mean, he had him pretty much squared off. He could have finished him. And then if you think about it in the final fight, Frank basically beats him twice. And one of the times he's blind. So
I didn't want to get to the final fight yet, but yeah, he wasn't like
Cat.
okay. Cat made his parents. But yeah, I don't know. Rich, what do you got to add on Chong Li, man?
Chong Li, thought he was a good villain. Mostly mostly because he's the most memorable villain that I had as a child.
Really?
I remember him like as a villain. And he just kind of played it out good. He was just, I don't know. Sorry, I got totally distracted by this cat ruining my set.
That cat's the villain of this podcast.
He was memorable, good villain. Steve, take it away, because I murdered that.
Okay, there we go. Well, let's just hop into it. Let's hop into the final fight scene. I graded this of the two movies. I graded this one much higher. This fight scene had it all. I mean, in terms of action, and it was a long scene. One thing that was kind of interesting is the way they set up the platform. They turned it into this like a little half pipe, which I thought was interesting. I didn't really understand that what the point of that was. But you have the opening sequence, and I'll just say this: Frank Dukes, his a lot of holes in his game. All right, he pretty much is ready for anything. He quickly starts just pounding on Chong Li and getting the upper hand. And then what does Chong Li have to do? He has to resort to cheating, right? And then even then, what does he do? So of course, Frank, he's prepared for everything. He's trained blindfolded before, much like Rich. And like so Rich. What does he do? Yeah. So what does he do? He even though slightly distracted, much like Rich, but he still handles them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, overall, dude, tons of kicks, different types of kicks, flying kicks, does the splits, and jumps over them. I mean, I don't know. To me, this was definitely the more entertaining final fights of the two movies. What do you think?
And that's where I'm going to have to disagree with you, man. Like the Kickboxer, we'll get into it in the next episode, but this one, it felt so anticlimactic just because, like you were saying, Chong Li was getting his ass kicked all over the place. Like, even when he blinded him with, like, the mysterious powder, he got some licks in, but then, like, then he did went back to his, like, blindfold training and then kicks his ass again. So it was very anticlimactic. That's why I only gave it 24 out of 30, just because of that. Like, if Chong Li would have gotten more, like, more damage in, okay, it would have been better, but he got his ass kicked all over the place, and I'm, like, very disappointed in that.
I can tell.
Rich,
you know what? I like the fight scene. I gave it a 27. Only reason why I did not give it a perfect score was the fucking blind scene where he's like, that lasted so long. Like, what do I do?
That was for effect.
If I was the opponent in the scene, I would have just kicked him in the head and game over. Winner of the Kumite. Like,
Rich basically saying he could win the Kumite if he tried.
Yeah,
if he so wished.
Rich is going to be the winner of the next Kumite.
I never made it to the Kumite because I discovered breakfast burritos and I got fluffy. So just throwing that out there.
Rich is soft in the gut too. So there you go.
I think this whole podcast is a little soft in the gut. Just
it is.
I'm going to have to say Matei to this podcast pretty soon because we're going off the rails right now.
Yeah, we really are. Okay, well, I ended up giving it 25. Like I said, overall, the two movies, I thought it was the better of the two, but maybe that hints a little bit of what I thought about Kickboxer in that final fight scene. But we'll get to that in the next episode. Okay. But let's get into the things that really matter here. We're talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme. You're talking about what? Talking about doing the splits, all right?
It's in his contract.
What is he
know? It's in his contract.
As
far as grading, I won't give my grade first. Let's start off with Rich on this one. Rich, would you give a grade for the splits in this movie? 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5. What'd you give?
I gave it a 5. I gave it a perfect score. That motherfucker could do some splits 7 times. Like, Jesus Christ. I can't do the splits. How does he even do that? Like, man.
Al, did you give it a perfect score as well? Tell me you did.
I gave it a perfect score. I gave it a 5 out of 5 because hotel room split. All right. Do you want kids one someday?
Legit question. This is a legit
question. Then the split during like the flashback, and then the main split overlooking all of Hong Kong. So you can't get any better than that, babe. So 5 out of 5 on that one. Perfect score.
Well, I'm not. You know what? I hate to be an echo, but 5 out of 5. And we can't forget the splits where he straight nut shot to that giant Asian guy and just takes him out. You know, I mean, the guy's wearing freaking a skirt for crying out loud. That's not even. Oh, you know, man, full contact. They don't kid around when they say full contact.
No. That actually made it into Mortal Kombat 1. That's how iconic that split fucking nut shot was, dude.
Oh man,
Johnny Cage is no Frank Dukes. All right, there I said.
No, not even close.
He is based off of Mr. Hollywood.
I said it.
Frank Dukes. That's a whole other story. Really?
Well, wow. All right. Well, first time ever. Perfect score in one category for all three of us.
We all match perfect score. I mean, hey, this movie's a juggernaut. When it comes to the splits, this movie's a juggernaut. Or
Jean-claude Van Damme, dude. He's known for his splits. Yeah, he knew martial arts, but man, you should watch that guy do the splits.
Hey, like I said, if you get one of those pulley contraptions, Rich, I can help you. You'll be doing splits like that in no time.
I'll also never be able to walk again.
All right, we'll try that out later. We'll see.
No, we're not. We're going to put a pin in that, and that's never going to happen.
All right, let's get into X Factor, guys. What did you give it in terms of X Factor?
You know what? I gave the X Factor 10 out of 10 too, just because the one-liners throughout this whole movie.
There's a lot of good liners in this one.
There's a look out, and then also because it's based on a true story. So there you go, 10 out of 10. Frank Dukes.
Unsubstantiated.
You know what? I gave it a 2 because
what? 2?
I did.
A 2.
X Factor, dude. I love this movie, but honestly, watching it back as an older adult, it was fucking lame. It goes maybe against Frank Dukes and everything. It's just, I don't know. It was a struggle for me to get through.
I'm going to cancel Rich right now.
I thought it was so
please do.
Cancel culture Rich right now, because that's awful. You're an awful human being.
You wanted to be the bad guy. What do you got? You wanted to
All right, well, I gave it an 8. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I don't know what Rich is talking about. This movie for me was part of my childhood. Even though it's cheesy and it's 80s fun, I still enjoy it to watch it. It's just a fun movie. There's something about that, even the music, when the music kicks in, that 80s kind of like, you know, vibe. The montages when he's going through the city in the subway and you see the reflection of Chong Li in the glass. He's like, oh, wow. I mean, there's just so many things on this movie. Just like I said, just kind of harken back to me being a kid watching this stuff.
It's 80s, bro. It's supposed to be cheesy fun, man. What the hell?
And Frank and Ray, they're bros for life, man. At the very end, that scene in the hospital.
Yeah, anytime.
It just didn't do it for me. It just reminded me of a tall tale of some poor guy in a bar who thought he was cool, and I'm listening to a story of how fucking badass he was. It's just kind of lame. I don't know. I won't watch this. I will not probably won't watch this movie again.
You're lame. All right, Rich? You're lame.
Dude,
Cancel this
guy. You wanted to be a bad guy. That was Rich's childhood hero was a bad guy.
Rich's X Factor is 0 right now. Right?
Here's the thing, guys. We're looking for a third member of the Nightcap.
Please submit your applacations. All right.
Yes, because Rich is canceled. He's canceled, guys.
All right, guys. Well, that was very. We ended very polarizing. We were all in sync right there for a second, all in the splits
until it went off.
X Factor, and we just fell off the rails there.
You guys are fanboys. I'm sorry, I had to break it up.
What was everyone's overall score?
That's a good question.
Oh, yeah, 78.
Score, yes.
What'd you give it, Rich?
78.
Okay.
I give it a 76. So, Rich, you actually had a better score than me, but you hated it.
I know. Hey, your scoring system. I followed it.
I gave it an 85. I gave it an 85, guys.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love this movie.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. So,
I wanted to be a bad guy. I'll cheers to that.
I'm not going to cheers to you.
I think, Rich, you're squarely in the bad guy on this one right here. This is the one we're ending. But you know what? Let's save it. We got another episode coming up. So I hope everyone stays tuned and watches the next one. To be continued, right? Nightcap.
To be continued. Well, we're going to find out what the real best Van Damme movie is.
To the real Frank Dukes. Your story is
Frank Dukes.
Right?
To
the real Frank Dukes.
To the real Frank Dukes. Poser.
Jesus.